It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're finally wrapping up 2002. We're taking a look at the films of December 25th, 2002, December 27th to be exact. Christmas was on a Wednesday this weekend, but the week itself is December 27, 2002. And we've got another big week of movies, I think 7 in particular to look at, although one of them is technically a re-release, so we can get through that one pretty quickly, because we've talked about this one before. But we have a lot of films to get to here, so let's not waste any more time and just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Steven Spielberg's second film of 2002, and a year where he made not only one, but 2 really damn good movies. This is that second one, Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Can is the biographical crime film based off the life of Frank Abagnale, who, before his 19th birthday, successfully performed cons worth millions of dollars by posing as a Pan Am pilot, a Georgia doctor, and a Louisiana parish prosecutor. His primary crime was check fraud. He became so experienced that the FBI eventually turned him in for help in catching other check forgers. And you have Leonardo DiCaprio playing Frank in this, and Tom Hanks as the FBI agent, and you have Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, Amy Adams. You see Elizabeth Banks in the trailer for this movie. And for the first time since 1993, Steven Spielberg had 2 movies come out in the same year that were really good, really damn good movies. There was that stretch where there would be times when he made 2 movies and one of them was good and then the other one was not so good, like 89 is a perfect example. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out, and then Always came out, which Last Crusade was great, Always not so much. And then there was 1997, where he just had 2 films that really weren't the best overall, Lost World, Jurassic Park, and then Amistad. And here he has Road to Perdition and then this movie, and I'd say that's a pretty good year for him in general. And it's honestly one of Spielberg's best movies. I mean, it combines the great acting of Leonardo DiCaprio, who in 2002 really was showing everybody that he wasn't just that Titanic kid anymore. This kid can act. I mean, if anybody thought that Titanic was going to be a one-time thing for him, he was going to kind of go away, 2002, I think, was the big year that showed everybody that this guy has a lot of potential going forward, which we would see later on down the road, because you have this movie and then you had Gangs of New York last week. I mean, a year where you get to work with Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, and both of those movies come out within the span of a week. That's a great way to expand your career. And Tom Hanks is doing what Tom Hanks does best. Not much more to say about him. He's fantastic as the FBI agent going after DiCaprio. Christopher Walken is really good in the movie, too. Like, he got an Oscar nomination for this, and you can see why. He really is not playing the same Christopher Walken that we've seen before. It's back to what made him win the Oscar for The Deer Hunter in the first place. Like, he really is acting his ass off in this movie, and you get to see a lot of actors in the prime of their early careers. Jennifer Garner, you see a little bit of her in here. Elizabeth Banks, as I just mentioned. Amy Adams, before she made it big. It's a great film that's an excellent homage to the crime comedy capers of the 60s and 70s, and just the intro alone makes it worth the price of admission. I mean, this is still one of the best movie intros you'll ever see. With a lot of homages to Saul Bass, the great post movie guy who used to graphic designer, movie guy, but he designed a lot of the most iconic logos in history. You know, the Geffen Records logo, the Hanna-Barbera Swirling Star logo. He did a lot of stuff for Alfred Hitchcock and James Bond. I mean, this is a great homage to his work in this particular intro, and it's still one of the best intros you'll ever see for a movie. I mean, just like Catch Me If You Can is one of Spielberg's best movies in general. It's really a fantastic film that works on so many levels, from the acting, to the visual look, to the writing, to the direction. I mean, it's one of Spielberg's best films, and one that I can't recommend enough. Catch Me If You Can. I don't think I need to say too much more about that one. I really don't think I need to say too much more about this next one, because this won Best Picture that year. And in this guy's personal opinion, this may be one of the best picture winners of all time. It's Rob Marshall's Chicago. Based off of the 1975 Bob Fosse musical, which was actually in turn based off the 26th play of the same name, it explores the themes of celebrity scandal and corruption in Chicago during the Jazz Age, where you center around Roxy Hart, played by Renee Zellweger, and Velma Kelly, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, 2 murderers who find themselves in jail awaiting trial in 1920s Chicago. Roxy, a housewife, and Velma, a vaudevillian, fight for the fame that will keep them from the gallows, and also features Richard Gere playing the lawyer who is defending the both of them, and it marks the feature film debut of Rob Marshall, who also did choreography on the film, with a script by Bill Condon, who would later go on to direct Dreamgirls and then do the Beauty and the Beast remake that came out in 2017. this film was highly praised when it came out. It was nominated, as it said in the trailer, the most nominees for a Best Picture, an Academy Award film, nominated film that year, 13 nominations, and won 6 of them for Best Picture, and one also for Catherine Zeta-Jones. Queen Latifah was also nominated. Renee Zellweger was also nominated. I think Richard Gere was also nominated too. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, this really is one of the best Picture winners ever, because it's a film that still holds up after all these years. When I think of the Best Pictures of the year, this is the type of film that deserves to win Best Picture, because it really was the high point of 2002. The music in this movie is amazing. The visual look of the movie is amazing. It appeals to everybody. It appeals to women. It appeals to men. It appeals to everybody. Like, you can always find something about this movie, no matter who you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter what age you are. I mean, okay, maybe not age, because anybody you should probably see this if you're over 13. If you're under 13, there's a reason why this is PG-13, but it's a film that appeals to everybody. It's a really damn good movie, and it shows that these actors can really sing their asses off. I would have never thought that Richard Gere could sing in this movie, and sure enough, he does it here when he does "Give Him the Old Razzle Dazzle," which is a great song. It's just one of the many great songs featured in this movie. I mean, again, I don't think I needed to say too much more about this one. It's one of my favorite Best Picture winners of all time. My favorite movie of the year, Chicago. What more do you gotta say? With that said, let's move on to the next movie, a re-release. The re-release I mentioned before. The IMAX re-release of The Lion King. Yeah, sorry for the suck-ass quality of that particular trailer, the video there, but unfortunately, that was the only version where I could actually hear what was going on, because when I saw there was 2 other versions of this trailer online, and each one of them had the volume so low that I could barely hear it, and I could have just copied it from the download that I usually use and just used the volume thing on there, but I don't think that would have made much of a difference overall, so that's why I just went with that one there. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the best version I could find. At least you could hear it, though, but I don't think I need to say too much more about The Lion King anyway. I mean, this movie is a classic film. Kind of like with Beauty and the Beast, though, this particular version was released in IMAX and large format theaters, and actually did include a new song that they added in there called The Morning Report, which, kind of like with the Beauty and the Beast song, Human Again, feels kind of pointless, and it definitely doesn't feel like it really adds anything in general to the film in particular. I mean, they couldn't even get Rowan Atkinson to come back and sing the song for the movie. I mean, it's just... This one feels more unnecessary than the Beauty and the Beast song did, because at least the Beauty and the Beast song had a purpose to it. But this song, the Morning Report, was just kind of like, yeah, there's no reason to put this back into the movie. But I mean, still, you get a chance to see this grand epic Disney film on a big IMAX screen. This is a film that would have been perfect for the IMAX experience. I mean, yeah, you have that little gap in there with The Morning Report, which feels pointless, but you know what? I would have loved to have seen this on a big epic screen, like I've talked about before with Beauty and the Beast. Like, I've seen a couple movies in IMAX 3D back about 20 years ago, and if this was playing in an IMAX theater, I would have been more than willing to go see it, because this is a film that definitely deserves to be seen on a grand epic level like that. But saw the 3D version a couple times in theaters. We'll get to that one in about 10 years' time when we get to that re-release. But yeah, not much more I can add to this one here. We've kind of already delved into The Lion King as it is, and yeah, not much more to say about that one. So let's go ahead and get back to some newer releases, and we move on to, oh boy, one of the most what the hell were you thinking moves of anybody who's ever won an Academy Award. The Academy Award-winning writer and director and star of Life is Beautiful gives us his version of Pinocchio. All of a sudden, the Jonathan Taylor Thomas version from 1996 ain't looking too bad right now. Well, then again, most Pinocchio adaptations since this has come out have not been that great. I mean, Disney even couldn't make it right with the live-action version they did with Robert Zemeckis. But we'll get to that. We'll get to the other version of this by Benigni in just a second here. But this is the film that literally killed his career for a little bit. I mean, this was a movie that did well in Italy, and they brought it to America, and they really butchered this film. I mean, not to say the Italian version was received any better. I mean, it got mixed reviews at best. I mean, it was a film that most people said was trying to be, you could tell what at least what Benigni was trying to do with it, trying to be something in the spirit of Federico Fellini films, which I could definitely see that, since I've seen a couple of Fellini films, and I think, All About Eve is one of the best ones easily, and also 9.5. But yeah, when this came to America, the good old, now I'm completely forgetting who does the dubs for Miramax. The Completion Bond, good lord, I literally remembered it as soon as I turned it off. But yeah, the Completion Bond company came in and completely fucked this movie over. And boy, did they ever, because the actors they got in here, they had to get big names in here. They had to get people like, Breckin Meyer, who was coming off of Road Trip and was on King of the Hill, Glenn Close, Eric Idle, John Cleese, Kevin James, Eddie Griffin, Cheech Marin, Topher Grace, Queen Latifah, Regis Philbin, James Belushi, Matthew Libatique. I mean, so many of these actors, when you're trying to dub this and you have an actor like Roberto Benigni, when I hear Roberto Benigni's voice, I should not be hearing the voice of Joseph Gribble from King of the Hill. Like that, that's two things that should not be combined together. And this movie, for some reason, decides to do that, and none of the voices match up at all. Not at all. Like Glenn Close's character in this movie, the original Italian actress has like blue hair, and she looks nothing like looks and sounds nothing like what you expect from Glenn Close. But like everything about this movie is just such a disaster on so many levels. I mean, my God, this is an abomination of a movie, and like I said, it literally killed Roberto Benigni's career. I mean, it literally took him out of the picture for a long period of time. Then almost 20 years later, Benigni got a second chance to actually turn it around and actually make it work again, and it kind of did. I mean, it was not a great film per se, but compared to what he had done with the first film, it's just like, this film at least knew the second film at least knew exactly what it needs to do to be somewhat entertaining, and it worked out in the film's favor because it got better reviews, it was well received by most people, it did well at the box office, and it was a film that largely did a lot better than anything that this abomination did, and it's kind of hard not to see why, because once you watch it, you really will see why Roberto Benigni was just like, even he probably was just like, okay, maybe it's time for me to get the hell out of here. I mean, I already made a fool of myself with Life is Beautiful at the Oscars. I mean, that was more dignified than what he did in this movie. I mean, this is unbelievably bad. Just, yeah, avoid this one like the plague if you can. So, let's go ahead and get back to some good movies, some Oscar-winning films. We have Nicole Kidman in her Oscar-winning performance in The Hours. Or as Denzel Washington said on Oscar night, by a nose, Nicole Kidman, because Steve Martin made a joke earlier in the night talking about the prosthetic nose Nicole Kidman had, but that's beside the point here. The Hours, directed by Stephen Daldry, and it centers around three lives connected by Virginia Woolf's 1925 novel, Mrs. Dalloway. In 2001, Clarissa Vaughn, played by Meryl Streep, a New Yorker, prepares for an awards party for her age-stricken longtime friend and poet, Richard, played by Ed Harris. And in 1951, you have Laura Brown, played by Julianne Moore, who's a pregnant California housewife with a young son, currently in an unhappy marriage. And in 1920s England, you have Woolf herself, played by Nicole Kidman, battling with depression and struggling to finish the work. And it's a very good film, mostly because everybody in the movie really gives it their all. The acting is great. Cast it also includes John C. Reilly, his second film of the weekend with Chicago, and coming out the same weekend. Stephen Delane, Jeff Daniels, Miranda Richardson, Allison Janney, Toni Collette, Claire Danes, Eileen Atkins. Great script by David Hare, Stephen Daldry, and some of the really good visuals, like that scene where you see Julianne Moore in the bed and you see like all the water coming in. That's a great scene to watch, and moments like that really do carry this movie above the predictable Oscar cliche bait film, which this really is not. And it's a film that really works because of all the performances, an engaging storyline that connects all to this one single book that this woman wrote. And you see why Nicole Kidman won Best Actress. I mean, it really is an accomplishment of a performance that really does show what she accomplishes as an actress overall. It's a great film. Can't recommend it enough. The Hours. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie. A very intriguing film, considering who's directing it and what ended up happening on Oscar night. Roman Polanski directing Adrian Brody in The Pianist. based off the autobiography The Pianist, the extraordinary true story of a one-man survival in Warsaw in 1939 to 1945. Ladislaw Splizman, I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry, is a Polish-Jewish radio station pianist played by Adrian Brody, and he sees Warsaw change gradually as World War II begins. He's forced into the Warsaw ghetto, but is later separated from his family during Operation Reinhardt. From the time until the concentration camp prisoners are released, he hides in various locations among the ruins of Warsaw. As far as the performance itself goes, Adrian Brody really does give it his all, and you can see why he won Best Actor in here. He really is the best thing about the film in general, and the film itself really is a good movie. It's probably one of Roman Polanski's best films in a long, long time. I mean, it's a film that shows that, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of things that we should talk about that are very, very unfortunate about him, but at the same time, this dude can still direct, and this is a guy that still can really make some great films, and this is a film that really is a towering achievement to the master craftsman of what this guy can really do. I mean, this is a film that really deserved the awards that it got. It deserved an Oscar for Adrian Brody for acting, and for Roman Polanski as a director. But I want you to take a look at what happened on Oscar night, because don't worry about the fact that Roman Polanski won Best Director. That was kind of well-deserved, and he had never won before. But I want you to take a look at everybody in the audience. Those motherfuckers are standing up and applauding for a guy who clearly did something that he should not have done and escaped from America to avoid being held become a prisoner because of it, which didn't last for too much longer after this. I think after Rush Hour 3 was when they got him, but to stand up and applaud like that, moments like that is where you really question the Academy Awards and how they look at controversies like that. I mean, there was that talk when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock that, you know, Will Smith should have his Oscar removed because of what he did. He could have killed Chris Rock, which, first of all, no, he couldn't. You guys blew that completely out of proportions and tried to make it about yourself, but that's not the point. Excuse me. But that's the thing is when that was happening, and they were talking about maybe taking Will Smith's Oscar away, I thought to myself, well, you know what? If you're going to do that, go ahead and take Roman Polanski's Oscar away too. Take all the Oscars away from Harvey Weinstein. You know, they were not involved with what they were doing, what they got arrested for before that. Then, so why should it's just like none of that made any sense whatsoever. Why Will Smith needed to have his Oscar taken away from him, but Roman Polanski and Harvey Weinstein could still have their Oscars. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, and it's a stupid conversation to even have, but at the same time, those same people that were making such a big deal about Will Smith almost killing Chris Rock, just remember, most of those people that were saying that stood up for Roman Polanski when he won Best Director. I mean, that is, and look, he deserved to win Best Director. I know he hadn't won an Oscar before this, but at the same time, to stand up for the director like that, it's really a double-edged sword when you think about it. Because, like I said, it was his first time winning an Oscar. Everyone was hoping he'd get it one day, and you know, you do it. So you've done it for so, you direct this for so long, and then you finally get that moment. Yeah, you stand up and applaud for it. But at the same time, they all applauded for this guy after it was clear that he did things that he shouldn't have done, and was obviously fleeing the country because he did those things. And just like I said, it's a double-edged sword. But that's something that I feel more mad about the people who stood up and applauded for him more than I do about Roman Polanski himself, because he deserved to get an Oscar for directing. I think he did a really damn good job with this movie. But yeah, it's really hard not to look at that and think back to that night when everybody stood up and applauded for that dude after everything that he'd done, and it felt really unnecessary to do that. And then 20 years later to almost have the conversation of having Will Smith force that Oscar away from him because of what he did. I mean, like, I know I'm going off topic here, but that's just something that kind of bugged me for the longest time, especially when that happened a couple years ago. But with that said, though, The Pianist is a really good movie. It's Roman Polanski's best movie in general. It's a terrific film, and I can't recommend it enough. I highly recommend it. Pianist, fantastic film. And just like that, we're done with 2002. Finally, it feels like we've been doing it for almost 2 months now, and I think that we actually have been doing it for 2 months. But of course, with next week being the first weekend of 2003, we have the 2002 leftovers, and of course I've got my list here. One of them I kind of scratched out because it wasn't the movie that I thought it was going to be, but we still got 9 movies to look at in general when we meet back up here next time, including the one new release that came out this weekend, which is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. We also have Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, Ollie G in the House, Stolen Summer, the first film from Project Greenlight from HBO, Tarzan and Jane, Kermit's Swamp Years, Mickey's House of Villains, and from the Russo brothers, who would later go on to direct some big movies, Welcome to Collinwood. So we'll take a look at all 9 of those movies on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.